Captain's log 07/04/26. Um, Tonight I want to talk about why you feel stuck or stagnant in life as a trades guy or Delta guy. Um, I know a lot of dudes who are in the kind of blue collar world, trades guys, that kind of thing. They kind of feel like they're stuck in a niche in society. It's hard to break out of. I know I've personally felt that way in life at times, and I know it's a common theme. So I want to talk to that and how, like, some ideas on how you can break out of that, um, and what to do looking forward. Um, we're living in some uncertain times at the moment, so it's hard to judge where things are going to go. That plays a lot into this topic as well, because obviously the economy, your job prospects, um, how far your dollar goes, all of that plays into this. But um, that's just part of the big picture. So let me explain kind of what I mean by all this. A lot of a lot of dudes who are like Delta guys, and by Delta guys I mean the guys uh, that are the unsung heroes, the guys that show up to work, do their job, go home. Often blue collar type guys. That's who I relate most with. Obviously, they they get stuck in these roles, which makes sense because they're they're usually the worker bees, the employees. They are the mid-level professionals, etc. So in today's society, it's very hard to move forward from that and to climb the ladder. They the society today is very heavy on the low income, very heavy on the high income, and it's very hard to jump those rungs and break that glass ceiling. So, and I don't mean like heavy as in numbers, where there's a lot of high income people. It's just that it's hard to get there. So I think the can't remember the stat. It's like the top 5% of people, like the top 5% wealthiest people own as much as the bottom 50% of people do, like as far as their share of the wealth. I'm sure I butchered that. um, so yeah. So when I think of these issues and times where I've felt this way, I there's a few, or at least a couple sayings that kind of come to mind, and these old cliches of your network is your net worth, and you're the average of the five people that you spend the most time with. And those come to mind because that is the key to breaking free from where you're at in life, from your status, from your niche, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to start a business, all these things. um so networking is like a skill that a lot of Delta guys don't really learn, because it seems easy. It seems like it's pretty natural thing. But if you're trying to break barriers, trying to break into different realms, different niches, different tax brackets, et cetera, et cetera, then you have to network with other people than who you're kind of normally experienced with and comfortable with. So it's something that, like, I know people who go to like business school, et cetera, like they feel a lot more comfortable with something like this, but Delta guys tend to, kind of keep their head down and just stick with their own friend group. And often nowadays, guys don't have a lot of friends, so they're lonely. So it's very hard to network. And it's important because your network is what's going to determine like everything in life. It's going to determine, your wealth, your status, your relationships, both romantic and friendships, etc. Um, it's gonna dictate a lot of your life. So it's actually pretty crucial and important, and we don't really think about this stuff a lot. Um, you know, most of us spend a lot of time at work. Most of us tend to put in a hard day's work, go home and rest, and we don't really do a lot of this networking that maybe needs to happen if we want to improve our life. So some of the things with networking that are important would be finding like-minded individuals, so people who tend to gravitate to the same things that you do, have the same interests, whether it be hobbies, sports, your type of work that you do, skills that you want to learn, etc., that kind of thing. But you also want to develop networks that also break some of those molds. So find people who have different skill sets than you. So if you're a tradesperson, well, it would be kind of good to have friends who maybe are good on computers. Maybe they are accountants. Maybe they're doctors. Maybe, there's all these different roles in society and different, you know, echelons of people that you can kind of tap into. And as Delta guys, tend to do a bad job of that because we stick to our own people, basically. And it can be pretty tough and intimidating to talk to people who have like completely different lives. I know I was at a wedding in the fall and talking to people like that are just like totally different. It was in England, so it was like it was like wildly different anyways. But the people at this wedding, they're physicians, they're this, they're that. Um, and I'm thinking like I don't really belong here. I'm just a trades guy. But there's always something you can relate to, and I'm sure for them, they don't understand the world I live in. I don't necessarily understand the world they live in either. But it's okay to connect and learn some of those things. It's actually super important that we break out of our own mold and learn from other people. So that's a big part of it anyways. Um, so yeah, when you're building a network, you're building, you know, it's not just your friend group, but just acquaintances in general. If you want to improve your life, you have to kind of find people who are doing things different than you. So if you just stick with what you know, well, things aren't gonna change. That's pretty apparent, right? So it doesn't mean that it's not important to have people that are in the roles and that do understand, what you go through every day. That's super important. You have to have people who get you, but you also have to break free from that as well. Um, and you can bring everybody with you along the way. It doesn't You don't have to just leave your friends and leave your family and leave whatever behind, unless it's like toxic, unless it's something that you really actually have to get away from. You can kind of bring everybody with you, like, hey, let's do this whatever thing tonight. Let's go learn something different as a group. And guys nowadays like have such a tough time having like building these relationships and acquaintances and friendships with different people, because we're all stuck inside on video games and on our phones, and it's so hard for people to like actually go out in real life and meet other people and to go do things. I know for me, like, mostly after work I don't really want to do a whole lot anyways, because you work hard all day. But I also am in a situation where, you get older and your buddies are having families and stuff, and there's not necessarily as much time to get together and chill and stuff. So you have to find other networking where you can do those things. You have to, go find sports to play, find whatever. Um, it can be like cooking class. It could be anything, things that you want to learn, and like meet the people there and talk to them. We're so involved in our own little worlds on our phones that we don't actually like put our head up and see what's going on around us, and like, hey, what are these other people up to? What do they know that I don't? Um, so yeah, it's you got to get out and meet people. So when you're developing your network, if you can find people who are doing things that like you want to do, or in the role that you want to be in, if they are living the life that you want to live, that's the kind of people that you should try to like hook up with and try to talk to and be friends with, etc., and add to your network, because you're never going to learn how to do that stuff as good as you would like from somebody with experience, somebody who's actually been there. So a good example of this is, let's say you want to start a business. You can go on YouTube and watch people talk about, their business, and watch Alex Ramosi all day long. But you only get like a little snapshot of their life. You don't get to like you don't get a good feeling of what it is that their day to day is like, what they actually care about, what means the most to them, what they pedestalize in their life, because it's totally different than what you might think. Um, Oftentimes, people who have a business and stuff, maybe they prioritize their time more than anything, and that makes sense because they're busy, right? Like things like that. But you don't know that until you like actually go talk to them and hang out with them and like realize, okay, this guy is like, their life is set up totally different than mine, because they spend so much time doing this and this, like, and you'll see that. And that could be with anything. That could be, hey, I want to be really good at whatever, cooking. Well, somebody who is, a good cook has their kitchen set up this way, and they think of cooking in a different way than you do, whatever. So when you actually hook up and hang out with people like that, you get a glimpse in their life, and you actually get to like experience it, and that is the biggest thing. So experiencing something is Totally different than reading about it and watching it on, the phone or TV or whatever. Um, and Delta guys in particular, especially trades guys, that's 90% of us learn that way, like hands on. That's why we're in the trades, because what we do, we problem solve with our hands. We problem solve. Obviously we think about things, and you have to problem solve with your mind as well. But most of us are hands on kind of people. We like to figure things out that way. So if you have a chance to actually go hang out with somebody and learn hands on what they're doing, then that makes a world of difference. So having these networks that you can tap into and learn from and experience, that'll just change your life in so many ways. Um, this is something that, like, I'm not an expert on this either. I'm learning all this myself. It's these are skills you have to actually practice, and it is a skill. Networking is a skill, just like anything else. But you actually have to like go out in the world and do it. So it's important that way. And most of that stuff is, you know, skills and career focus. Like if you want to improve your career in any way, knowing more people and having a bigger, better network will help. If back to the business example, if you know people who are, higher up in their profession, or they own businesses, or they're they're wealthier, etc., that puts you at a greater advantage, because now you have people who you can tap into for work, maybe for whatever, sourcing material or anything. And those people will be more willing to utilize you if you are useful, right? So if you have a certain skill, which most Delta guys have some sort of skill, right? Like, you don't think of it that way, but if you're like, an electrician, there's a whole bunch of people out there that need electricians. You just need somehow to connect those dots. Somehow they need to know that you exist, so they can then hire you or hire your company. If you're starting a business and you have that network set up, it becomes so much easier, because you've probably talked about these things already. And as soon as you like hit the ground, you're running right away, because you already have people that have jobs lined up for you. They have, you know, higher net worth people have higher net worth networks, which means that if you're tapping into them, you're tapping into their network, and it's all connected in that way. So that's all, again, that's all work and career focused. The other side of that is like relationships. Um, and I'll talk about both styles, because, relationships aren't just romantic relationships. So your friendships uh, are obviously very important in life. We're social creatures. We for the most part enjoy being around people that we like, and that changes throughout your life. And not only does that change, certain people will develop at different rates. So if, let's say, your group of friends from high school or whatever, after high school they tend to want to sit around and play video games, let's say, but you want to play sports. Well, it would be pertinent to you to find other people who are into sports you can hang out with more and be active. Maybe you go for a run, maybe you whatever. And that improves your life, because you have a group of people that you can tap into to do those things, like workout buddies, etc. And then you might also be interested in leveling up and having friends that know more about business and stuff and actually like care about that stuff, so that when you guys hang out and do other things, you might be playing poker together, but you're talking about things that you actually care about, right? Like about leveling up, about, whatever, business, stocks, anything, and all that stuff. And it's all information that helps you. Or maybe you like outdoors and camping, and your friends don't have time to do that now because they all have kids. Well, there's a network of people out there somewhere that are absolutely 100% engrossed in camping, and that's what they do all day. And you got to tap into that if you can. So like your friendships will change and morph, and it doesn't mean you cut ties with old friends. You bring them along, and like having more friends, there's nothing wrong with that. Having a big group of friends is great. Having people you can like hang out with, and trying to build a core group of friends as well, where you like hang out often and share things in life. It's one of the best things in life that you can do. And your family's part of that. Your Whether it's your immediate family or extended family, there's lots of people who have uh, strong relationships with their family, but there's also a lot of people that maybe they don't have family, maybe they don't have them around. You have to build some form of tribe to be around. Like I said, we're social creatures. So then on the flip side of that is romantic relationships. And delta guys are really shitty at at this part. This is the biggest deficit I see in our world. You know, for guys, trades guys, whatever. Um, because we're in these careers that are like extremely male dominated. And that's a good thing. That's, they're supposed to be, because that's what we want to do. That's what guys want to do. Um, little boys want to play in the sandbox with trucks, and little girls want to play with dolls often. And that's not everyone. I get it, but for the most part, so it's a heavily male dominated industry that you're probably working in. So you don't really have that interaction with women. So as a young guy, it's important to have those interactions and build a network that way as well, so that you are used to talking to women, are used to understanding and hanging out with women. And you don't have to date them all. You don't have to, actually the idea is not to date them all. The idea is to get used to like hanging out with them as friends and learning about people, because that will tell you a lot about what you need in a relationship, what you're looking for, and the type of person that you maybe want to hopefully eventually, be with for life or whatever you're into. Um, and if you build a strong network of, you know, female friends, especially ones that, or even male friends, especially ones that aren't in the industry you're into, that broadens your reach, and you'll be able to meet a lot of other people, and get used to being around women and stuff, which, like, again, delta guys are terrible with. Delta guys, and this is leading into another video I want to do, but I had a comment on one of my videos about, you know it was about why tradespeople are happier. It was it's not necessarily that they are actually happier. It's just like you have satisfaction from your job. But somebody in the comments asked why, if that's the case, why suicide rates in construction and the trades and stuff are so high compared to other places. And a lot of it has to do with like with your network and your support system, because a vast majority of Delta guys have a very shitty support system. And the woman that they're with, like let's say their wife or whoever, is often one of the only women that they kind of interact with. And then when that all goes to shit, their whole life comes crashing down. They don't get to see their kids, etc. And then they also don't have like this support system. And basically it's like, okay, my whole life's gone. So now what? And unfortunately, guys sometimes take the take drastic measures in their own hands, and they decide to opt out, which is sad. But I'll leave that for another video. But it is one of the things like that Delta guys struggle with, and the reason is your network. The reason, like, it's 100% your network. They live a life of solitude in some ways, and they don't live a life of abundance in that particular area. So if you juxtapose that with somebody who, maybe is a financial bro who's around, pretty women all the time and all these things, they don't, if a relationship falls apart, they don't really give a shit. And that's good and bad. I'm not advocating for any of that. I'm just saying it's just how it is. So you should, as a young dude, if you're starting out, you're getting into whatever role, let's say you become a plumber, you should find ways to develop, like at an early age, develop your network with, women and dudes who are doing different things, like going to school, etc. That, because those are the things that you're not going to have access to as much as you grow older, and as you progress through your career, where we start to separate in life. After high school, you start to separate away from these people. So yeah, it's super important. Um, and like, I'm I'm somebody who there's times in my life where I've been like, oh, men and women can't really be friends because of, whatever. We're not the same. But I think it's important to kind of set some of that aside and try to be, you know, cordial and friendly. And you don't have to be like good friends and whatever, but you can be acquaintances, and at least like associate with people so that you can learn about other people and learn how to interact with other people, because it's going to be super important in your life. And it will improve your network. Like anything that you can do to broaden that network, to throw a bigger net, you're going to catch more fish, right? So it's super important. And a tip for young dudes, like if you want a good tip for helping your relationships as a young dude, like, have friend zone women, basically. Okay, if you're a young dude and you want to have like chicks all over you, friend zone a bunch of women, because other women want to know that you're, a good person and that you're a safe catch, and they want to know that you're pre-selected. So if it looks like other women want you and other women want to hang out with you and that they find you funny, etc., that is going to like up your chances like crazy. It's going to do more than anything. It's going to do more, well, it's going to do as much or more than your looks. It's going to do more than your status, all those things, because it just automatically looks like you have all those things to women. Women are like very, very, very social creatures. So way more than we are. Men are simple, but women are the opposite. So if you're a young dude, like 100% friend zone a bunch of women. If you're looking to improve your life in the relationship category, friend zone a bunch of women, and other women are going to flock to you. It's just the way it is. You also meet more. Again, you're going to throw a bigger net. The more women you meet, the more women that you'll like end up meeting through them. So it's that's good game right there. But yeah, no, it's yeah, I don't know. That's basically it. I haven't done a video in a little while. I had it was Easter, so I was busy at mass for the week, Holy Week there, and didn't want to take the time to do these videos and stuff. I had other things on my mind, so that stuff's important to me. So I'm gonna try to get some more of these out. But if you if you want to know more, you have any questions or if any suggestions on things that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna keep doing those interviews as well. Try to get more different roles, different people, you know, different trades, etc. Talking on them, give different guys a voice. You know, I don't. I don't always have a whole lot to say. Like, my opinions are my own stupid opinions, but I want to hear from other people. So I'd like to get more of those interviews in. But yeah, that's basically it. Delta out.